Hi, I'm Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association. I only do that an hour or two a week, interviews like this. My day job is I run Did It, an 83-person digital first marketing agency. I've also got a nonprofit called Giving Forward, which is all about cause marketing and generating revenue for other nonprofits using media dollars. So Mark Kapczynski has been kind enough to join me. He actually has more simultaneous jobs on his LinkedIn than mine, which is really saying something. So, from what I gather, your primary gig is Guten, but then you've got a couple of other things still on there as
Yeah.
well. So, why don't you give us the elevator pitch for your main gig? But I'd love to have people also sort of understand the deeper you. You know, it sounds like Screen Stars is sort of really interesting, as well as Control Media. So.
Yeah, it's funny. As you were saying that, I instantly had a flashback to In Living Colors, where it's like, the Hey Mon episode, where it's like, I have 27 jobs. I think my wife likes to remind me of that. So
Yeah, actually, my wife and I both really enjoyed that as multipreneurs ourselves.
that's
You know,
right.
how many jobs you got? The Jamaican jobs.
That's right.
Yeah,
Can't just have one job; it'd be too
right.
boring.
Uh,
But so I'm Mark Kapczynski. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Guden. That's my day job, my primary job, and what I'm really passionate about in terms of helping build the team and grow the company. And it's just really fortunate to be involved in the world of e-commerce right now, where so much has changed last year, and there's so much happening. Obviously, we're so much innovation is happening, so it's actually a fun sector to be in. And in particular, what we do, or in our piece of the e-commerce world, is we're by technical, I guess, definition, we're a manufacturer of apparel, wall art, and home goods. But what that actually means in principle is we don't actually own a piece of equipment. We actually use and work with true manufacturers around the world, and we've orchestrated like a virtual network of manufacturing to produce items in a on-demand manufacturing technique or style. So sometimes people call it print on demand is one term that gets thrown around. We like to say that we operate a smart supply chain to power sort of the next generation of e-commerce businesses so that they can take advantage of whether it's on-demand manufacturing or some hybrid model, and sort of take advantage of all the benefits of that without really any cost or overhead. And so we tend to work with, like I said, brands in the fashion and apparel industry. We work with a lot of folks in the wall art space. I could talk about that. And then we also do home decor and home goods.
cool. Well, yeah, there's absolutely a need for that.
Yeah, and I guess the fun way is in kind of our association into ecom is every one of our customers or our partners, as we call them, is a brand that's selling or a merchant that's selling online, and so we feed right into their store. So like products that they're going to manufacture through us, are tagged, and so when a consumer orders a T-shirt with a particular design on it, or they upload their own personalized artwork, those orders get instantly routed to Guden. And then across our global network, we produce those items and then drop ship them right to the consumer.
Cool. Well, that's definitely valuable. It's interesting. When I think about the print on demand space, I think about it primarily from the perspective of promotional products, right? Which was typically where it sort of evolved
That's kind of
because
where it
people,
started, yeah.
yeah. And obviously in that case, the consumer typically wasn't paying for it, right? They would just attend a golf outing and there'd be, 45 hoodies there, right?
Yeah.
That
What,
everyone would
what's
get.
funny though is like for our business, we do no promotional products. Like I can't even remember the last time we did that. Now everything is this on-demand purchase, right from a retailer or a brand where, we do a ton in like the music industry for merch, where like we work with the bands like Rolling Stones and Kiss. So if you order a T-shirt from the Kiss website, that order's coming to us, and then we obviously produce it and drop ship it to you. And so it's kind of interesting how, who's really embraced, I think, this manufacturing technique.
Yeah, and the number of YouTubers who have merch
Oh
is
yeah.
incredible, especially
Oh
in the
yeah.
gaming category.
Yeah.
My son has a bunch of hoodies from folks who I have no idea what they are or why they're famous in any possible way. But apparently they are in fact famous for just the way they play a particular video game.
My daughter, who's 7, watches some of these guys on YouTube and stuff, and like she'd rather watch that than whatever Paw Patrol or some normal TV show. And it's just, and she's like, so and so funny. And you're like, isn't it, Daddy? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, equally, I won't understand why it's fun to watch other people play video games rather
I
than
don't
play them
know.
yourself.
I
But
don't. I don't get that at all.
we won't go there. Clearly, it's a new generation there.
That's right. We've officially dated ourselves.
Exactly. With regards to your sort of separate passion projects, you still pretty
Yeah.
active in those, or are those really taking on the back burner at the
Yeah,
moment?
yeah. So last year, during COVID, we had, and we're here in LA, and we're stuck at home, and we have 2 young kids, and they immediately went into distance learning. My wife and I saw an opportunity to create this business called Screen Stars to do virtual childcare. And then as that evolved and distance learning really became problematic for a lot of kids, we got into something we call homework helpers, which is basically support for kids with their day-to-day schoolwork, whether it's distance learning or now back in person. But we saw a gap in the fact that with this homework helpers product or service, there's no way to like help a kid in school as a parent if you don't know what they're doing or have to do. And there's plenty of tutors. So like if you don't know math, like hire a tutor and they'll help you with that specific thing. But there was just no like almost like project management for schoolwork. And so that's what we actually brought to market as a service, as a way of having a third party provider help the child figure out all the different things that they have to get done, what tools, what dates, what assignments, what class, and then be able to share that not just with the child, but also the parent. And it sort of empowers the parent to now go, oh, I see you have these 3 things for math that you have to do. Did you do them? Do you need help with them? How can I help you get them? And it just creates a more even playing field for the parent to feel like I can actually now help my child versus like, I don't know if you've looked at Google Classroom or some of the tools that these kids, were forced to use. I mean, it was brutal to try to figure out, what you had, to have your kid do. And so,
Yeah, I've absolutely had to look at all of those.
yeah,
There's a variety of them, with one kid in high school and one in middle school,
oh
which
yeah,
they use separate platforms. So it's not
yeah.
even
Every
consistent.
class, right, has a
Yeah.
different platform.
So I agree that you've definitely solved the problem and filled the need on that side.
Yeah, so we created the services and the business, and really it's my wife's business now, and she runs it, and that's her thing. So
Right.
Gouda does keep me pretty well tied up these days.
Yeah, I
So
would imagine
I try
so.
to help my wife where I can, but it's really become her thing, and I guess I'm sort of like a board member now
Right.
and an investor.
Exactly. When you describe Guten and the kind of brands that you
Yeah,
mentioned, it brings to mind that there's probably a bunch of brands that are not in the apparel business, but yet people feel strongly enough about the brand that they would be willing to buy apparel or swag of different types, right? And
yeah,
you sort of think about some of these power brands that are so powerful, people are willing to tattoo them on themselves. Like obviously Harley Davidson is the key example
sure,
there, right?
yeah,
But there's certainly a lot of brands that
yeah,
probably have not properly taken advantage, not just of the demand for the product, but the fact that that person becomes a walking billboard for the
yeah.
brand on a go forward
Absolutely,
basis as they wear
absolutely.
that hoodie or whatever. So does your biz dev team actually sort of look to identify these folks like, hey, here's a super
Yeah,
powerful brand, they're not selling apparel at all, like they're missing a huge opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, you sort of hit the nail on the head. That's really like there's this kind of perfect storm of, the consumer, especially over the last year, right? The consumer now wants to buy more online. They're not going to like the Harley Davidson store, like I live in LA, right? There's one in Marina Del Rey. They're not driving over there anymore or getting to it. So they're spending more time online. But like Harley Davidson is a great example. Like they don't have a rich store with every product. And in particular with Harley Davidson, every local store sort of rebrands the product based off of like the location. So like the
Interesting.
Marina Del Rey store has sort of their brand, tied to Harley Davidson. So it's like whatever Marina Del Rey, Harley Davidson, and then vice versa for other cities. And you can't find that stuff online. And so working with those kind of like either brands or like dealership groups, people that have that affinity audience. Think of it also like religious organizations or college universities. Like I went to UCLA. Like I haven't been to the student store in ever. And like I wish they had more offerings online for me to just make it easy to purchase. And so all those kind of groups are just perfect for either doing it themselves as the call it the brand holder or the license holder, or putting them in partnership with like some of the big box retailers. Because like like if you go to Target or Kohl's or any of those kind of places, they all sell like different kinds of UCLA jerseys or USC jerseys, etc. But like if your people aren't going to the store at the same level as we once used to, they haven't translated that experience into the world of e-commerce. So, you basically have like consumer, trends towards e-commerce, these retailers, struggling to figure out how to survive with e-commerce. And then you have these like brands and license holders trying to figure out new avenues. And that's creating this new opportunity because at the end of the day, you don't want to take such a huge risk in producing inventory that you have no idea if it's going to even sell. And so our model really is resonating now with people because it's like, what do you mean? I can create like an infinite aisle of apparel and I don't have any minimum guarantees and I can just try stuff out and see what sells. And like I can literally do it overnight. And that's the cool thing about, what print on demand offers, this ecosystem right now. And so, yeah, so you're spot on.
Yeah, if it's something that's sort of high enough demand where perhaps the brand is willing to take some risk or maybe partner with you to absorb some risk, will you guys
Yeah,
also sort of ship to an FBA location if they
sure.
want to throw it up
Yeah.
on Amazon or
Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah, so that's kind of the new model for us is evolving from just simply only doing on demand. I mean, that's clearly our specialty and what we've built up over the past 5, 6 years. But now there's sort of two other elements that are kind of penetrating the market. There's a hybrid approach where sort of it's funny they call it like digital squeegee. So it's like a hybrid of digital printing meets traditional screen printing, digital squeegee. But so there's hybrid models. And then there's obviously the traditional bulk models. And so what we try to do is because we have so many orders and so much data now flowing through our system, like we can see that trend. Like we can
Mhm.
see that like, oh, this like whatever, Kiss or Rolling Stones t-shirt in black, size large is selling like crazy. Put that on bulk production and ship it and get it into your warehouses and it makes sense, you know. So we kind of use like this like bell curve model or analogy, which is like start everything in print on demand first, and then as you see the sales, ticking up, right, there will be a period where it makes more sense to print or produce in bulk, and then once you sell out, bring it all back onto print on demand.
Right, right. Yeah, well, you did mention a couple of bands, and I think concerts are coming back at some point in at least a few
Yeah.
months to a year. So in those cases, will you like print up the merch for the show and drop ship it to the show location and
So the shows typically work in bulk, and they, as you probably know, right? The disappointment of standing in the merch line for 30 minutes to an hour, and then they're out of size large. So that's typically done in a very old school kind of manner. They literally, have one giant trailer truck full of merch that travels with the band, and they sell out. They sell out. Part of what we're trying to do now with our music industry or relationships is give people the option of like, hey, like for some of your customers, like just, give them the QR code to your website and like just have them buy it, and they'll have it in a couple days, printed on demand right to their house, and they don't have to wait in line, and they don't have to face the disappointment of you sold out of their size.
right.
So we're trying to not replace, but really more augment the experience so that they can capture a bigger market.
It also seems like you could obviously offer more variety in
Oh,
SKUs than one
completely.
could at the merch, within from the 18 wheeler
Com-
or van or whatever they're
yeah,
traveling around with.
yeah,
So yeah,
completely. I mean, that's the advantage because you're not pre-producing anything. Everything gets produced within 1 to 2 days. So, the turnaround time is amazing. The quality levels now, because the equipment has gotten so good. It's, there used to be quality issues when the industry started out in like when we were first in it in 2014, 2015. But now the quality levels are, right on par with screen printing. And you're absolutely right. You get almost this infinite catalog of options that you can sell.
right, right. And obviously, that we're coming out of the pandemic and we're not all just sitting in front of green screens like the one behind me. Um, there was perhaps a hiatus on all apparel purchases where people basically said, "Well, I really just need one shirt because that's
Yeah.
it." But now people are like back out in public again. And have you sort of you? I would imagine you're to some extent a leading indicator to be able to see, like, okay, the orders, we just got a surge in orders, like, people are suddenly deciding last year's hoodie's not going to cut it anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you see that kind of a spike? Is like, have you seen an unusual
We've
surge in
definitely
demand?
seen some spikes in retail, like just in the last month or two. I'm kind of looking at my calendar, and so we definitely have seen those. I think most of the industry feels it's just that, though, that it's just spikes, right? Like people are so desperate to just get out of their house and like go buy anything anywhere. But like retail is struggling. It was struggling before the pandemic. And, like I went to the store, recently I had to buy something for my daughter, and like they didn't have size medium in kids, so then it's like the pink shirt that she wanted, I, basically had to, have that disappointment experience of like, okay, I got you the blue one. I know you don't like blue, but that's all they had. And so that experience, it's like, why should we go like, why deal with that? Like, let me just order whatever I want, whatever size, and sort of have this infinite inventory. I mean, for at least for more commoditized type of items, and maybe there's specialty fashion items, obviously, that are more unique, and you have to try them on and stuff. But for more commoditized hoodies and sweatshirts and t-shirts and stuff like that, like there's no reason to run out of someone's size.
So what's the sort of sweet spot for you? Because I guess obviously at a certain scale, on demand may cease to make sense, right? Because if you can go into a traditional factory environment to do it. So what's that sort of range like? If people are thinking, oh, my brand might be perfect, like I should give Mark's sales guy a call. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
where does that break point happen?
honestly, we work with brands of every single size, all the way up to some of the big box retailers. Because the cool thing about print on demand is there's literally no risk, right? Our business model is you don't pay us anything until you sell something. So you could load up 10,000 SKUs into your catalog, see what sells, and let's say you only sell one T-shirt, you only pay us one. Like we don't charge minimum guarantees, we don't charge for SaaS fees or anything. So you have a unique opportunity to really experiment and innovate. And we encourage that. So again, whether it's a small brand or a large retailer, just try it out and be innovative, because the other factor, right, in this world of e-commerce is, like, why would someone not go shopping at Amazon, right? Like, I think, what is the stat? Something where, like, they have over 50% of the online e-commerce market share. So it's like, you have to give consumers a reason to go someplace other than Amazon to buy a cool looking shirt. And if you don't have something that's either unique or exclusive, people are just going to Amazon. And so this type of production model gives a big box retailer, that fighting chance, I'll say, to compete with Amazon, because it's like, hey, here's a cool shirt with a cool design or a licensed artwork that you can't get on Amazon. You have to come to our storefront now to buy it. And they don't know how many they're going to sell, so it makes sense to produce it on demand. And then again, we watch all the data, and we'll advise them instantly of, like, hey, it's selling fast, you should think about moving the size large in tan to bulk and produce 1,000 of those, or we'll just do it for them.
That's interesting. Are sort of like Etsy style creative folks also like just taking a
Huge.
piece of artwork and
Huge. Yeah, yeah. So you find all sorts of folks, right? Because you have a lot of just people who are great designers who know nothing about creating apparel or wall art or other home goods, and it makes it really easy for them to go, I'm very creative, I came up with my design, I just want to sell stuff, right? And you worry about how it gets made and fulfilled. And most of those people don't want to spend thousands to millions of dollars in inventory that who knows if it's going to sell. So
right.
we're heavily involved in the Etsy community. We're heavily involved in all those kind of creator communities across the board. And I'm just obviously a fan of the model because it just gives you so much freedom. Yeah, it costs a little bit more than a traditional T-shirt would, or so on, but for the flexibility that you get, and when you look at, like, the full ROI, like if you looked at, like, your time to source and manufacture and order samples, get samples in, then produce a line, then ship it and distribute it and track, like, that's going to take you 6 to 12 months, first of all. And well, what if you're wrong? What if you pick the wrong design? I mean, you're kind of out of luck. And so that's why we're huge fans of this model, because it's like, you literally can try something. There's zero risk. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Try something else. Keep trying. And again, that's why it works for small, brands all the way up to, big brands.
Interesting. Is it somewhat self-service in that, like, people can just upload their art and sort of see how it looks on the
Yeah.
baseball cap, see how it looks on the
Yeah.
hoodie, et cetera?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's completely self-service if you want it. Most of our larger customers, we have a pretty advanced tech stack, so they have access to our open APIs to just plug right in, and they have some more advanced workflows to get stuff done. And we create, like, what are called all the, like, digital previews. So you lay out the first one, but then you need the previews that get pushed out to Amazon or Walmart or other marketplaces and stuff. So we create all that, and ultimately our back end infrastructure is such that when we get a file that has to actually be produced, we guarantee that it's print ready. So we make sure that anything coming in doesn't need to go through more revisions, more QA, right? So we make sure that when we send it out to actually be printed, it's print ready.
Cool. Well,
It becomes super seamless.
Absolutely. Well, technically, your role is marketing, right? So you're out there using a lot of the same.
Yeah, be doing sales today.
No, I know exactly. That's why I had to laugh, right?
But I just love what we're doing.
We should probably talk a little bit about marketing.
And you know what? I'll just give you one more comment. Like, the cool thing about what we do is it enables literally anyone to become a brand. And like I have I was mentioning, I have a little 7-year-old daughter, and she saw what we did, and so she started drawing all her little pictures and stuff like that. And she's like, I want to sell T-shirts, and I want to sell these. So she was able to come up with her own designs, and we created a store for her, and she can have her own fashion brand at age 7. And
That's
I
cool.
think that's just amazingly powerful. So sure, working with big box retailers and stuff is financially valuable, but like teaching kids how to be entrepreneurs and helping them develop businesses and understand that concept at an early age, I think it's super cool.
It absolutely is. Um, Now, wearing your marketer hat, right? Obviously, you're out there. It's a B2B sale, right? So you're out there using lots of platforms, lots of tools, um, to give your sales team the Glengarry leads as opposed to the Glen Ross leads. And so, is there anything exciting that you see, like, that you're sort of excited about as your own channel, your own
Yeah.
way of being able to reach the kinds of folks that you're looking to reach, rather than just giving your sales team a big list of folks and say, call everybody
Yeah.
on this list. Obviously they're going to want hot leads. So is there anything you see that's sort of exciting to you as a
How do I
marketer?
get the hot leads? Yeah, with a lot of the privacy cookie blocking, or third-party cookies going away, privacy protection software now in browsers, ad blockers, all that type of stuff. It sort of makes marketers, I think, almost like perfect their craft, right? You have to get smarter now at how you do things, and so what we spend a lot of time is really understanding our segmentation. And so, what's the difference between one of our brands who's maybe doing, whatever, 5 or 10,000 orders a month to someone who's, doing 10,000 to 100,000, and like, what are all their different needs based off of like, ones that do apparel versus wall art versus home goods. And so we really segment everything out, and it really starts there, is what makes a good customer for us, and where can we be successful helping them. And then it's okay, now where are those people? And it's usually we kind of a pretty big matrix of places where we literally, it's like if we're trying to find this level person for this kind of merch or product, where are we going to find them? And so what we've had to do is like shift a lot of our thinking into, it's not just straightforward paid media. Now it's like, what's our role on Facebook groups? What's our role in Reddit communities and other kind of pockets where people are talking about how to do the different things we're doing? We're more involved in the fashion industry and working with, some of the fashion shows so that they understand you guys should have like a technology component to what you're doing now, and understanding our role in bigger macro topics like sustainability. So it's now kind of more complex, where we actually do spend more time now on brand building and what Guden stands for in these different industries, along with then how do we directly acquire the people that we want to acquire. And it's not like, oh, we can just get thousands of leads by doing Google search. It's now, well, I can get 10 leads for you from Reddit communities this month, and I can get another 10 from Facebook groups, and I can get 20 from a webinar that we'll do. And it's really being okay aggregating up all those little numbers and going, I get you 200 quality leads versus 2,000 junk leads. And so that's kind of structurally. Um, the other thing I'd say we've done and we're continuing to invest in is simply put, getting people to our website, right? Our website now is more like the most important asset we ever have, more so than I think in the past. And so it's getting people to our site and creating lots of compelling content and gating it, simply put, because we got to at least get their email address or some identifier, so that then we have some history and we can track them, track their touch points, how they're interacting with us, and so on. And obviously have an ability to reach out or potentially match the data with LiveRamp and so on. So it's really, really focusing on how do we get people to our site with engaging content. And then I'll say exciting technology piece is we're experimenting with a young startup called Nostra AI, Nostra.ai. So we'll shout out for them. Um, they came to us with some pretty cool artificial intelligence that they were concepting, and they sort of agreed to work with us in like a partnership model. Because what we want to ultimately do is have like I don't have the ability to scale any more than I have, right? I've done sort of my level of segmentation, and now I'm out of hands basically. So I either have to hire more people or get smarter at how we do this. They're the get smarter answer for me. So I want to do even more segmentation, create these like little micro segments, and I need artificial intelligence to help me do that and be able to then marry the right experience, sort of the right content package at the right moment for that particular visitor to then optimize for the conversion event that I want, which might be filling out a form or what have you. And so they're able to look at the ads and the components and CTAs within the ads, all the way through to all the elements, graphics, text, blogs, et cetera, that are content assets that we have on the landing page. And then they have access into our forms and CTAs. And they basically have almost like an infinite amount of permutations and combinations that they can run to figure out how do we get you to ultimately convert. And so that's, I think, really cool. And that helps me now scale beyond people, basically.
Cool, cool. I'm a big fan in B2B of segmentation and trying to predict ahead of time who's going to be your power customer and who's going to be the customer you would like to fire, right?
That's
Because there are
right.
some of those as well. And
The ones you
so
want to fire, you should have never even had them in the first place.
that's part of the
Don't take them
prediction
even.
process, right?
Don't even take them.
If you knowing ahead of time, right, so that you
Yes,
can actually tell the salespeople to
that's
pass,
right.
right, is
That's
part of that
right.
magic, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to putting everybody through the ringer.
Yeah. I will say one of the things, while B2B is our core, we actually have turned into a little bit of an agency of sorts for some of our brands. And so a lot of our brands do a lot of like Facebook and Instagram ads, and they have figured out their CAC cost, customer acquisition costs and stuff for those channels, but they actually like having us actually run some of their direct to consumer marketing in some of these newer channels that they have
Yeah.
less experience with, that my team probably is better at anyway. And so we actually run a bunch of campaigns for some of our brands, and because we see more data and have more volume across things, then we can try to optimize for these particular things that they're trying to sell.
Well, there's no doubt that expertise makes a huge difference, particularly in paid social, right? The difference
Yes,
between a mediocre campaign and a real winning campaign can make
that's
all
right.
the difference, right?
That's
Between it
right. That's
working and
right.
not working. Um,
That's right.
and then I can
But
certainly see why that would be a win-win for you, because obviously you get to make money twice, running the
yeah,
campaign,
I
but then
mean,
it sells,
for us,
right?
it's not about making money, but like, if you think back to our model, it's like if they sell more, then we actually make money, right?
Exactly.
So if we can help them sell more products, it is a win-win, and they obviously love it because it's they don't have to figure out something new, and we're so deep into all the different marketing channels and are always trying new things out. So they like to take advantage of us for that.
Cool, cool. Well, it's been a pleasure catching up, Mark. Thanks so much for joining
Likewise.
me,
Yeah,
and
of course. Thanks for
I'll look
having me.
forward to
Thanks for
catching
reaching
up
out.
again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.